Ever get that feeling like you're losing it?
Yeah.
Like someone's messing with your head, making you question everything you know.
Yeah, it's way more common than people realize.
Yeah.
And it's a lot sneakier than just a regular argument, you know?
We're diving deep into gaslighting today, and I mean really deep. You guys sent in tons of research, articles, even some personal stories.
Oh, wow.
So we're gonna uncover those subtle signs, get into the psychology behind it,
Right.
and most importantly, give you the tools to fight back and reclaim your reality.
You know, one thing people don't always get is just how tricky gaslighting can be. Like with all this tech stuff nowadays, deepfakes and all that, it's gotten even more complex. It's not just happening face to face anymore.
Oh, for sure. So we're not just talking about like an ex denying they said something mean.
No.
This is getting like high tech and kind of creepy. But before we go full Black Mirror on this,
Yeah.
let's break down who these gaslighters are. What makes them tick?
Well, at the core of it, it's usually about power and control.
Okay, so control freaks. Got it. But it's got to be more complicated than that, right?
It is. Sometimes it's tied to a personality disorder, like narcissistic personality disorder, where the person needs to feel superior all the time.
So maybe they need that constant validation.
Exactly. They lack empathy, need constant admiration, you know the type.
So we're not just talking about garden variety jerks. We might be talking about actual diagnoses here.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets interesting. Sometimes gaslighting isn't intentionally malicious. Like, it can come from the gaslighter's own past trauma.
Whoa, hold on. You're saying someone who's been manipulated can turn into the manipulator?
Yeah, it happens. They learn these tactics to survive, and now they're unconsciously repeating them in their own relationships.
Wow, that is complex.
It is. But regardless of why they're doing it, the damage to the victim is real.
Okay, so that's what we're really getting at here. It's not just about someone getting on your nerves. It's messing with your whole sense of self.
Right. And people talk about the emotional toll, the anxiety, the confusion, all that self-doubt. But it can go way deeper than that. Over time, gaslighting can lead to some serious mental health issues.
Like what?
PTSD, depression. It can even mess with your physical health.
Wait, physical health? Seriously?
Think about it. You're constantly stressed, questioning everything. Your body goes into overdrive.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
High blood pressure, stomach problems, insomnia, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Gaslighting messes with your mind and your body.
Wow. Okay, this is already intense. I think it's time to give our listeners some tools to fight back.
Absolutely.
What are the signs? What should we be watching out for?
You know, one of the biggest mistakes people make is ignoring that gut feeling. Like, if something feels wrong, don't just brush it off.
So you're saying that little voice in our head that says, uh-oh, is actually our best defense?
It is. It's your internal alarm system. And another thing, start keeping track of things. Like, write down dates, times, specific conversations, anything that feels manipulative or makes you question your memory.
So if someone denies saying something, I can literally pull out my notes and be like, nope, you said this on this date.
Exactly. It stops them from twisting the story. And it helps you see the pattern, validates what you're feeling.
That's a game changer, right? It takes away their power to make you doubt yourself. But what about dealing with the emotional side of it all? Gaslighting can make you feel so alone, make you question your own judgment.
Absolutely. That's why having a good support system is so important. People you trust, friends, family, a therapist, people who can be that reality check for you.
So you're not lost in the gaslighter's messed up world, right? You have those people to ground you.
Exactly. Okay, let's talk boundaries.
Okay.
This is crucial, especially if you're prone to being manipulated. You got to set clear boundaries, what you're okay with and what you're not okay with.
So it's not just about saying no, it's about taking back your power.
Exactly. And this is where trauma bonding comes in. It's this thing where victims get attached to their abusers because of these mixed signals, kindness mixed with manipulation.
Trauma bonding. That sounds intense.
It is. And it makes it so hard to break free.
So it's like the victim holds on to those good moments and rationalizes the bad behavior.
Right. It's a vicious cycle. And that's why understanding these things is so important. Knowledge is power. And once you see the patterns, you can start to break free.
My mind is officially blown. But before we get too deep into the psychology of all this, I think our listeners would love to hear some real-life examples. Can we bring this to life with some stories from what we've got?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with Sarah and Alex. Sarah was always second-guessing herself, you know, like, did that really happen?
Oh.
Alex, her partner, would just deny conversations they'd had.
Oh, no.
Made her feel like she was going crazy.
That's gotta be so unsettling.
It was subtle at first, but then it get worse and worse to the point where she was like, Am I losing it?
Yeah, did that really happen? Feeling is just so messed up.
It really is.
Yeah.
That's how gaslighting works. Just chips away at you, makes you doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But Sarah did something really smart. She started writing everything down.
Oh, interesting.
Like a journal.
Yeah, like a journal. Dates, times, what Alex said, everything.
So she was documenting it, like creating a record.
Exactly. And as she wrote things down, she started to see a pattern. It wasn't just a feeling anymore. She had proof.
That's got to be so validating, right? To see it all laid out like that.
It was. And it gave her the confidence to confront Alex and set some boundaries.
That's so important.
Yeah,
So she took back control of the situation.
exactly. And this brings us to another important point: support systems. Sarah also talked to her friends and family, people she trusted.
It makes such a difference to have people back you up, right?
It does. Hearing them say, no, you're not imagining things, that was huge for her.
Like having that lifeline to reality when you feel like you're drowning in doubt.
Exactly. Okay, let's switch gears for a sec. There's another story from your research about Jamie and his boss, Rachel. Jamie, he's really good at his job, talented guy.
Okay.
But his boss, Rachel, she had this way of putting him down, making him feel small.
That's never good. Constantly criticizing his work, questioning his decisions. Classic gaslighting, especially in the workplace.
Yeah, work situations can be tough, power dynamics and all that.
Totally. But Jamie, just like Sarah, he got proactive. He started documenting everything Rachel did and said.
So documentation, that seems like a key takeaway here.
Absolutely. It's like your weapon against the gaslighter. In Jamie's case, it helped him when he went to HR. He had all the evidence.
So he built a case. That's amazing. Shows how important it is to stand up for yourself.
You got it. Now, in addition to these stories, we also have insights from some real experts on this topic.
Yeah, you sent over some really powerful quotes from Dr. Stephanie Sarkis and Dr. George Simon.
Oh yeah, they're both amazing. Dr. Sarkis, she says that gaslighting is a deliberate attempt to distort reality, making the victim doubt their own experiences and feelings.
So it's intentional, like it's not an accident.
No, it's calculated. And Dr. Simon, he talks about the importance of trusting your gut. He says the key to recognizing gaslighting is to pay attention to your gut feelings and intuition. If something feels off, it probably is.
Basically saying, hey, trust yourself.
Exactly. Okay, before we wrap up, let's switch gears again and talk about prevention.
Okay, good idea.
We've talked about spotting gaslighting and dealing with it.
Right.
But what can our listeners do to protect themselves, even if they're not in that situation right now?
Yeah, prevention is always better than a cure, right? So how do we build up that resistance to manipulation?
Well, self-awareness is huge. You got to know your weak spots, the things that make you vulnerable to this kind of stuff.
It's like taking a good look at yourself, your patterns in relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then assertiveness, setting boundaries. That's essential in any relationship, but especially important when dealing with a potential gaslighter.
So it's about standing up for yourself, saying, this is what I will and will not accept.
Yes. And if someone keeps pushing your boundaries, that's a big red flag. Having a good support system is key too. People you trust, who'll listen and give you honest feedback.
Like a reality check, so you don't get sucked into that gaslighting vortex.
Exactly. And we've already talked about documentation. I mean, you don't have to be suspicious of everyone, but if something feels off, start keeping track of things. It can be really helpful later on.
So documentation can be preventative too, not just after the fact.
Right. And lastly, probably the most important thing, take care of yourself.
Oh, that's so important.
Do things that make you feel good, reduce stress,
Yeah.
spending time in nature, meditation, whatever works for you.
Like put on your own oxygen mask first before helping others.
Exactly. When you're emotionally healthy, you're less likely to fall for these tactics. You have that inner strength to resist.
It's all about empowerment, right?
It is. Knowledge is power, and now you've got it. You can protect yourself.
This has been incredible. We've covered so much ground, from the signs to solutions, expert opinions, real-life stories. It's like we've given our listeners a whole toolkit to deal with gaslighting.
I'm so glad. It's been a great conversation. And the best part is these tools aren't just for gaslighting. They can help you build better relationships across the board.
That's a great point. Before we move on to some resources for our listeners, any final thoughts?
It really has been.
So on that note of empowerment, I think we're ready to wrap up this deep dive into gaslighting. It can be really scary, but you're not helpless. Remember to trust your gut, take action, and put your well-being first.
You've totally got this.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take away one thing from all of this, it's this. How can you use all this info to build better relationships and just empower yourself in all parts of your life?
That is a great question to leave everyone with because understanding gaslighting, it's not just about protecting yourself. It's about creating a life where you feel heard and respected, where you set boundaries, and where you don't question your own reality.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing all this incredible insight.
It was my pleasure. Really, I hope everyone listening feels like they can take this knowledge and use it to make positive changes.
Now, for those of you who want to learn even more, we've got some book recommendations that you might find helpful.
Yeah, definitely check out The Gaslight Effect by Dr. Stephanie Sarkis. It's a really great guide to understanding and overcoming gaslighting, with lots of examples and practical tips.
And there's also In Sheep's Clothing, Understanding and Dealing with Manipulative People by Dr. George Simon. That one gives you a good look into how manipulators think and what you can do to protect yourself.
And if you're looking for something on self-compassion and building self-worth, which is so important when you're dealing with this kind of stuff, we recommend The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown.
So many great resources out there. We definitely encourage you to check those out if you want to dig a little deeper. But before we sign off, I want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about how you can take everything we've talked about today, not just to avoid gaslighting, but to really build those healthy and fulfilling relationships in every aspect of your life.
That's what it's all about. Using this knowledge to empower yourself, set those boundaries, communicate clearly, and watch out for those red flags.
Reclaiming your voice and creating connections based on respect, honesty, and just being your true self.
Beautifully put.
Thank you all for joining us on this journey. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay empowered.